Well, hey everybody, it's now noon Eastern Standard Time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Real quick, if you're having any sound quality issues, head up to the audio tab and select your sound. Computer audio tends to work better than phone, but it might be different for you. If any time during the session you lose audio, head back up to that tab, click refresh. If that doesn't work, switch from computer to phone or vice versa, whichever one you're not using, try switching. If that doesn't work, log out of WebEx, log back in. That should resolve 99% of your problems. And then finally, there's a number down here that you can screen capture and call them, and they can help you get through that. For those of you looking for your continuing education units today, watch this entire session, and then a survey will pop up right at the end when we close out. Take that survey. The same survey will be emailed to you an hour later, so if you miss it, you can take it there, but don't take it twice, please. Also, if you don't need CEUs, we definitely want your feedback, so take that survey one way or another. Next week, we're going to be talking about some innovations in air sealing homes and apartments, some very cool stuff, so check that out. And then on December 4th, after the holiday, we're going to be looking at on-bill financing strategies to break down the barriers to financing homes. And then also, we would love for you to come out to Grand Rapids for a big all-day workshop we're doing on the new Lead for Homes V4, V4.1, single-family, multifamily, high-rise residential buildings. If you can't make it in person, we're actually going to open it up to people to call in to the meeting as well. So check that out on our website. If you support our mission, want to see greener homes for all, get instant access to all these courses without registering, among many other benefits, go to greenhomeinstitute.org and check out Become a Member. All right, so thanks to our #1 top tier sponsor today, Panasonic. Panasonic is your #1 source of ventilation needs in new and existing homes. Panasonic features many different products to ventilate bathrooms right, or for exhaust-only whole house strategies, including more affordable solutions, motion sensors, timers, condensation sensors, and ERVs. The IntelliBalance 100 is the International Builder Show 2017 Best of Award winner, a customizable high-performance, high-efficiency energy recovery ventilator that can be used in any climate to meet the ASHRAE 62.2 without sacrificing your energy ratings. Looking for a cheaper balanced ventilation strategy? Pair a Whisper Green bath fan with a select cycler to bring in air through the furnace intake and exhaust it out the bath fan. Add in a range hood pressure sensor to activate the system when makeup air is needed during cooking. Also very exciting, but Panasonic will be offering a new smart home solution to detect pollution in the house called Cosmos, coming out here soon. So make sure to follow and look for all your ventilation needs over at Panasonic.com. And then going above and beyond, we're thankful to our secondary sponsor, Build Equinox, featuring the new Serve 2 smart ventilation system. Unlike traditional ERVs or HRVs, it can feature many qualities of smart balanced ventilation, feedback, and monitoring. With a standard ERV or HRV, you get a constant low flow air rate with no relation to indoor air quality or occupancy. For the first 3 days when the home is occupied, the air quality is poor. The ERV just can't keep up. When the occupants leave on vacation, the ERV keeps ventilating and wasting energy. Since the Serve actually monitors air quality, it ventilates only when it needs to. And compared to an ERV, the Serve can ventilate up to 300 CFM, quickly purging pollutants when you need it. So make sure to head over to serve.com to learn more about what they have. Check out where they're manufacturing and how they can integrate with other devices such as heat pump water heaters like the Rheem Prestige, or work to take a Mitsubishi mini split and move the air around a house or a unit to get proper airflow ventilation, as well as have their GeoBoost coupled with a ground loop heat exchanger. Check them out over at buildequinox.com. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us for Viewpoints to Downsize, Living Larger in a Small House. This course is approved for 1 hour in continuing education units, NARI Green, Certified Green Professional, BPI, AIBD. as well as AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety, which may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. Today, I will be your moderator, and my name is Brett Little. I'm the executive director here at the nonprofit, the GreenHome Institute, and Jessica Beecham is our new communication and education director working behind the scenes to help you out as well. You know, the question we're going to be continuing to answer, as we have been doing, is sort of this right-sized home movement. How do right-sized homes work? And the idea is that, you know, a home doesn't have to necessarily be a tiny home to be right-sized for the occupant. And so that's what we want to keep having conversations about. And the benefits to green building, or the tie-in, is of course the less space you have to heat, cool, and ventilate and light, the less energy you have, and of course the less materials to build and construct. So, you know, right-sized homes definitely have a smaller impact on the environment. And before I introduce our speaker today, for those of you listening live here, you know, we're really excited to be giving a book away, thanks to Taunton Press and the Fine Home Building folks. Very appreciative of them supporting these initiatives and these conversations. So make sure to stick around for the entire session, and then at the end we're going to call out a winner if you're on. And as long as you claim it, we'll be talking with you offline to get your address and sending it out to you. So stick around for that. And we have more sessions coming up next year where we're going to be doing book giveaways, so we're thankful for that. So our speaker today, Sherry, her latest book, of course, is Downsize, Living Larger in a Small House, which will be released by Taunton on, it was released last month, and profiles 33 exceptional houses that show how small can be comfortable, practical, energy efficient, and beautiful. So with that, Sherry, I am going to hand it off to you. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. When I started writing about home construction about 20 years ago, my mission was to help homeowners build the best possible homes and escape some of the issues that my husband and I dealt with in building our own house. While I was writing a second book and trying to discover more about the construction process, I discovered prefab construction. From all of my research, I found a way to build a much more efficient house, and along the process of writing further books, I discovered how energy efficiency and sustainability houses could be built. In the last few years, I've discovered how many older as well as younger people are seeking out small houses. My writing has really evolved from just figuring out how to deal with contractors and architects to learning about how to build an ideal house. Right-sized, energy efficient, minimal maintenance, healthy, cost efficient, and of course beautiful. I feel like I've come full circle since I built my own house in trying now to find the best way to build. I now consider houses as a system rather than individual parts, and I hope that the architects that are designing them are seeing them that way too, that the exterior works and complements what is happening inside and out. This all needs to be carefully planned before the foundation is started. The world is changing, and our houses needed to reflect that. I'm going to be showing a lot of houses in this presentation. A lot of them are in my upcoming book, but many of them are from previous books that I did as part of my Prefabulous series. And I just think they also show some of the aspects that I'm hoping to convey. So when I was writing this book, a lot of people were asking me, are you writing about tiny houses? And the reality is that I'm not. I think that there's a great place for tiny houses. I think that they're great for people that are moving around, and that and there's actually little villages going up for homeless people, which I think is fabulous. But in general, I stay away from any houses that are not code compliant. According to the New York Times, it was a real problem. It continues to be a problem finding a location to put the houses. There's also a lot of them have inadequate insulation, and they're not safe in hurricane and earthquake zones. And I think a lot of people don't want to live with composting toilets and having to collect water. So for me, those are items that I would rather stay away from. Not to say that I don't think that they are a very good way to build for people that need them and want that kind of life. So it's interesting who is building small houses. When I started working on this latest book, I assumed that all of the people that I was going to be talking to were boomers. And what I discovered is that a lot of the people that were interested in living smaller were millennials, 23 to 38. A lot of these people are getting married later. They're having children later on and fewer children, so they don't need such big houses. Many of them are really burdened with large student loans, so they don't have the money that previous generations might have had to buy property or to buy a home. So a lot of the millennials are buying smaller houses. They also are more interested, millennials, in a more active lifestyle. A lot of them want to go hiking and bicycling and travel. And I think a good many of them that I spoke to didn't want to be burdened with maintenance and other issues that related to the house. They wanted to be able to get up and leave. They also didn't want to be spending a fortune on energy. A lot of the kids today grew up in environments that were much more environmentally friendly than the boomers or other generations. They grew up with water bottling filler stations in their schools, with solar decathlon in the universities, and they seem to be much more energy conscious than other generations. And of course, boomers are a large part of the population that are downsizing. The population of boomers is growing. By 2035, 1 out of 3 households will be headed by somebody age 65. And again, like the millennials, a lot of them, the boomers, unlike previous generations, are still extremely active, and they want to be spending their time with social activities, cultural activities, travel, and they don't want to be home taking care of maintenance on a house. So a lot of these people as well are thinking about smaller houses. And a lot of the people that I met during this experience writing this book were really interested in having a totally different lifestyle, whether it's not being, if they lived in a suburban area, they wanted to live in a more central area, or they wanted to live in a more country area. So people were very happy to downsize and sort of change their lifestyle as well. I found that there were many ways to downsize. People built site-built houses, some built prefabricated houses, and there were others that bought a house with the intention of remodeling it and making it meet their needs. And then a very new area is the accessory dwelling units, which are growing in acceptance by municipalities. And they're also just a very practical way to build for homeowners that have extra property, and also people that want to live in a smaller space. And then I've also found people that are living on the water. I found one fabulous house for my Prefabulous Small Houses book that was just beautiful, and their kids went off to college and they decided to totally change their lifestyle. So that's another option that people can choose. The accessory dwelling units are really a growing trend. I found that a large percentage of the states now are allowing them. They all have different rules. Some only accept people living there that are family with the owners of the larger house. Some allow renters, so there's different rules in all different areas. This is one that I profiled recently, which is an ADU in Portland, and it's really well done. And the interesting story is that this couple bought a property that had enough space to build an ADU, and the house that they bought, they renovated it and rented it and built this smaller space for themselves. They just did not want to have a large footprint, and so it's a really nicely done small ADU. Here's another one that I profiled earlier in Vancouver. And the interesting thing is the land apparently is very costly in Vancouver. Houses are very expensive. And this couple, after looking for a long time, couldn't find a house in their budget. So they decided to transform the garage in their parents' house into an ADU. And so not only did they were able to build a beautiful house, but they also have a built-in babysitter just across the yard. And this was one of the houses that I profiled that I thought was just amazing. It's a house on Lake Union in Seattle, and the views are fabulous, and it's only 1,842 square feet. It was prefabricated on the land, and then it was moved to this small 12-house community. If anybody has questions along the way, you're welcome to just jump in. I'm happy to respond. So this was a very personal matter for me as well. I lived in a 6,800 square foot house that was way too big, and when my kids went off to college, it became really too big. The electric costs were very high. The maintenance was enormous, and we decided to downsize. So we rented a small house from friends of ours, and it's 1,400 square feet right in town. And it was the best move I ever made. I was really happy living in a smaller space, and actually sorry that I hadn't done it when my kids were younger, because I think it's a great way to live. When I spoke to people about what they were looking for in their new homes, obviously they were looking for less space, all these downsizing folks. And again, they wanted to change the location. Some people wanted to live closer to the city and amenities. Some wanted to live close to relatives or more in the country. If they had been living in town, they wanted more land and privacy. Everybody was looking for less maintenance, more energy efficiency. Some people just wanted a smaller mortgage, a different configuration of the house. They wanted a master bedroom on the main floor. And a lot of people, even the younger people, wanted a forever home with universal design features. So there was a variety, and depending on their experience and that particular time in their life. I found lots of places that had very small square footage. So this little house in Ybor City was built as a vacation house by a couple who lives in Manhattan, and they said their Manhattan apartment is actually larger than this little house. But I have done some articles about it, and people are just fascinated by this little house. And then the second house here is part of a cottage community at the Cape. And this last one, the Morton House, is in my current book, and it was a guy who got divorced, and he wanted small space, just big enough for himself, and it's a beautiful little house and just 1,005 square feet. Everybody basically wanted lower energy costs, and from personal standpoint, I went from $1,000 a month to $100 a month, which was really liberating. A lot of the houses that I covered were Passive House certified or LEED certified, and both of these are passive houses. The one on the left was designed by terrific architects in Maine, GoLogic, and the one on the right is in Nova Scotia. And that was a difficult lot. So it would have been very difficult to be on the grid. And so they decided to build the house off the grid. And it's a very interesting house. I'll show you some additional pictures later on. Again, everybody wanted a lot less maintenance. So there was a lot of standing seam metal roofs and fiber cement siding and just materials that did not need a lot of maintenance. And again, this is GoLogic and Freeport, Maine, and all of their houses are built very efficiently, and they're all quite beautiful. There were many ways that people used to achieve more space. Good lighting was essential, as well as well-placed windows. So the house that you're looking at now is was an interesting study. This house was designed by, it's a panelized house designed by Connor Holmes and Zero Energy Design. And when I was building my own house, my architect told me that all of the windows had to be the same size. And from an architectural point of view, perhaps that is something that he was taught, and it's commonly used. But I think it's important today that we put the right size windows in the right side of the house. So in this particular house, the front of the house is the north side of the house. And so the windows are quite small to avoid energy loss. And then on the rear of the house, where you see the kitchen, there's a lot of glass, large windows to allow in the southern light and heat that you would get. So it was built to be very, very efficient, and there's triple pane windows, and the whole house was built to be very independent of outside energy. Again, lots of windows and lots of light. This house has a lot of glass, and sometimes people say, how can they make that house really energy efficient when there's so much light? But there were many ways to do that, and using triple pane windows and very efficient double pane windows. And FabCap, which builds a lot of houses on the West Coast, this house is on Whidbey Island. It has lots of universal design features, and it is very efficient. It has a threshold-free shower, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and wide doorways and a drawer dishwasher, all to make the house kind of a forever house.
Sherry, one question I had on windows is, it would seem just inherently by having right size space, less space to deal with, that it's going to be a lot easier to get more light into all those spaces. Would that be accurate, or could you add a little bit more to that comment?
I think that you can you have to arrange for light to come into the house. So you need to have enough windows in the right location. So in a small house, if you don't have windows, it's going to be dark. So I've seen some small houses that don't have adequate lighting, and they do feel small. But if you want a small house to feel bigger than its petite floor plan, then you need to add a lot of lighting, and lighting in the right location, so that you're not losing energy while you're adding light. Does that kind of answer your question, Brett?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so and a lot of people wanted, the other thing is important to have natural ventilation, and so both of these houses have beautiful windows that are very operable and can let in a lot of light. The one on the left is in San Juan Island, and that one was also built by designed by a wonderful architect, the Artisans Group, and a lot of their houses are passive, including this one. And the tilt and turn are a great way to get a lot of air, natural ventilation in without getting a lot of rain and um, other climate that you don't want. And the one on the right has a lot of operable glass doors, and that was built by a modular manufacturer, Connect Homes. And it is 2,100 square feet. So the most important thing, people always ask me about creating energy, and the most important thing in building a house is to have a very energy efficient envelope. That is the most important. Before you're even considering creating energy, you have to make sure that you don't lose the energy that you already have. And so it's really important that they use good insulation in the walls, roofing, and foundation, and also that the windows and doors are energy efficient, that the windows are well placed. And a lot of people today are doing blower door tests so that they can see where the leakage is, so before they even complete the house, so that they can make sure that there is no air infiltration. And when you build a house with no air infiltration, you want to make sure that the air inside of the house is healthy. So a lot of people are not familiar with energy recovery ventilators or heat recovery ventilators, but for me, they're really a magical type of equipment to have in your house. They exchange the stale inside air with the exterior fresh air, and while it's doing that, it is maintaining the heat or the cool that's already in the house so that you're not losing the energy that you've already created. All passive houses have a requirement that they have an ERV or an HRV. An energy recovery ventilation exchanges the heat and the moisture, while the heat recovery only preserves the heat. And these are becoming more and more popular. They've been popular in Europe for many years, and they are becoming more popular in the houses that are being built more energy efficiently so that the houses are also more healthy.